America a zero-sum game? Is it the case that if one guy goes up, another guy has to come down? Is it the case that if you succeed, it has to be at my expense? Evidently, Joe Biden thinks so. Listen.
We have never fully lived up to the founding principles of this nation, to state the obvious, that all people are created equal and have a right to be treated equally throughout their lives. And it's time to act now, not only because it's the right thing to do, but because if we do, we'll all be better off for it. For too long, we've allowed a narrow, cramped view of the promise of this nation to fester. You know, we've bought the view that America is a zero-sum game in many cases. If you succeed, I fail. If you get ahead, I fall behind. If you get the job, I lose mine. Maybe worst of all, if I hold you down, I lift myself up.
This is wrong-headed both on the obvious level, but it's wrong-headed also in a more fundamental way. So on the obvious level, a lot of people actually think Biden's right. And take a simple example of two guys who apply for a job. Well, there's one position available. One guy gets the job. So isn't that zero-sum? Actually, no. Because the guy who got the job is better off, but the guy who didn't get the job is not worse off. He's no worse off than he was before. He didn't have the job before. He doesn't have it now. So one guy gains, but not at the expense of the other guy. So Biden is wrong in that very obvious sense. But he's also, I think, wrong in a much deeper sense. He's wrong in the deeper sense that the American way is the very opposite of the way that Biden describes. The way Biden describes, if you succeed, I fail, if you're up, I'm down, that actually has been the way of the world. It's been the way of the world for centuries. It's the way of the world in many other places now. The way of the world is conquest. By and large, people in ancient times thought that they could get stuff by taking it from someone else. That's the only way to get it. Symbolically, you can sort of think of it this way. When I was a kid, I'd go to school and I'd have like a few marbles in my pocket. And sure, the only way for me to get more marbles is to sort of win or grab or take somebody else's marbles. There's no other way. This idea of conquest is well represented in a story that the church father Augustine tells in the City of God. He describes Alexander the Great, who was informed that there was a pirate raiding the high seas. And Alexander summons the pirate and he goes, "What's your big idea? You know, raiding the high seas and taking people's stuff?" And the pirate says to Alexander, "Well, I got the same idea you do. Except you've got a big army and a big navy and you're a great emperor. And so you do it on a huge scale. I'm a small pirate, so I do exactly the same thing, but on a smaller scale." So there you have it. This is the ethic of conquest. And for centuries, people thought it was not only the way to get stuff, but it was right. It was manly. It was a kind of masterful display of force. America replaced that ethic with the ethic of wealth creation. And the basic idea here is very simple. If I have some marbles in my pocket, I don't have to take your marbles if I can figure out how to make more marbles. In other words, wealth doesn't have to be seized if it can be created. And wealth creation, creating a system of wealth creation, not just this invention or that invention, but I would call it the invention of invention. That is the secret to America. And that's enabled people to come to America, as I did, start out at the very bottom and then move up, upward mobility, but not at anyone's expense. It's upward mobility through seizing opportunity and through striving. That's the American way. That's what's going to keep us strong. And sadly, that's the very America that Biden wants to undermine, if not destroy.